My name is Leslie McMichael, and I'm 51 years old. I have Planned Parenthood to thank for my 51st birthday. I'd like to take you on a little journey with my time with Planned Parenthood over the years, if you don't mind. In 1986, I was 25 years old, and I found myself a divorced single mother with a 5-year-old boy and a 2-year-old little girl, who is now 29 and beautiful. I had no job, and I had no health insurance. I eventually found a job making minimum wage, but it was only enough to keep the lights on. I went to Planned Parenthood for my Pap test, and they only charged me $20. They also tested me for STDs, and when one of my tests came back positive, the doctor who treated me at Planned Parenthood actually showed me in the microscope what my infection looked like. It was amazing. Planned Parenthood gave me medication, and they gave me information on how to treat my infection, and there was education, there was no judgment. Over the coming years, I ended up getting better jobs, making more money, and finally getting a good health plan for my family. Still a single mother, and now raising a teenage boy and a teenage girl. I've always been honest and forthright about sex and reproductive health with both of my children. When my daughter was 16 years old and felt like she was too afraid to tell me that she wanted and needed birth control, she knew that she could go to Planned Parenthood and there would be education and treatment, no judgment. My first thought, in 1999 I was 39 years old, and I had already been in a decade-long relationship until the day I found out that he had been unfaithful with multiple partners through the relationship. My first thought was that I had to be tested for STDs and HIV. The first place I thought of was Planned Parenthood. I made the appointment, and I went in to the office, and the kindness that was shown to me by the professionals at Planned Parenthood was nothing short of what I expected and experienced over the years. When they called me back to give me my results, I was nervous and expected the worst. The counselor sat me down and quickly said, "Leslie, you do not have HIV." Again, only education, no judgment. As I left Planned Parenthood that day, it seemed so surreal. I drove down the street and I noticed the bloodmobile over at some plaza. I turned into the plaza and parked over by the bloodmobile, and I had the paper in my hand, and I went up to the bus and I said, "Hi, I'm Leslie, and I'm HIV negative, and I have the paperwork to prove it." I said, "I want to give blood today." And the nurse, she just laughed and she applauded me and brought me up, and I donated blood. The next thing I celebrated that day was ending that relationship. Let's fast forward to July of last year, 2011. I was having a sharp pain in my right breast. It would come and go, usually around my menstrual period. I was always on time for my mammograms, but this last year I was 5 months late. I decided I would call Planned Parenthood in Boca Raton for an appointment. I went in and I met a very sweet woman there named Brooke Lenz. She's an ARNP there at Planned Parenthood. I explained my pain, and she sent me to an imaging center for a mammogram. I came back to Planned Parenthood for her to give me my test results, and that the imaging center had sent her. The imaging center gave me a clean mammogram. She looked at that mammogram and she says, "I don't buy it." She goes, "I don't think that it's right." So she examined my breast again, and even though there was no lumps and masses, she said, "You should not be in this much pain. I'm sending you to a breast specialist." I went to a breast specialist and had a biopsy on August the 1st of last year. I was diagnosed with ductal carcinoma in situ. It was a grade 4. Gene testing showed I was a triple negative, and chemotherapy and radiation would not treat my cancer. On October 20th of 2011, last year, I had a bilateral mastectomy, no chemo, no radiation. On December 20th of last year, I had my ovaries removed, for good measure. On August the 6th, 3 weeks ago, I went in to the grand opening of the new Planned Parenthood in Wellington for a free pap test. You see, I had health insurance that covered all my medical expenses, but after my mastectomies and removal of my ovaries, my premiums went from $260 a month to almost $600 a month. I could no longer afford my health insurance, so here I was, back at Planned Parenthood for a free pap test. As I was waiting in the treatment room, in walks Brooke Lenz, the doctor who found my breast cancer. I was so happy to see her, and I could finally thank her in person for what she had done for me. She saved my life. So you see, Planned Parenthood has always been there for me and my family, with only education and treatment, no judgment. This is why Planned Parenthood has always been so very near and dear to my heart, and why I will stand up to anyone to defend this organization until I have taken my last breath, because you see, without Planned Parenthood, I would not be here telling you my story today. Thank you, Planned Parenthood.